Good evening and welcome to Mountainers. I'm Aeson, and of course with me tonight is the techie with us, this Techie Joe. How are you, darling?
I'm doing well. How are you this evening?
Doing well, doing well. It's been an interesting week. I got told to go back to the kitchen.
Okay.
Well, what else would you take from that graduation commencement speech?
Well, that wasn't for you. That was for the ladies in the
Uh-huh.
that no matter what you do
Mm-hmm.
as a lady, it really just doesn't mean anything. Because
Mm-hmm.
what you're really waiting for is marriage
Yes, whatever.
and the fulfillment of mother.
Yeah.
So, or at least so went the commencement speech made. Brenda says I'm in the kitchen and any other damn place I want. Fair enough. But no. So there was a commencement speech made that has shocked and awed the internet for good reason. It was horrible. Um, I'm hoping we have an article coming through because I'm not going to remember the dude's name. I think it was Hunter something. Like I'm trying to remember. We're having some problems with links this evening. But no. So yeah, all over Twitter, all over TikTok, all over basically anywhere. So yeah, after the Kansas City or Kansas Chiefs, Kansas City Chiefs, have had a lovely resurgence of female interest in the NFL. One
There you go.
oh, thank you. One of the Harrison, excuse me, it wasn't Hunter, it was Harrison. Um, but yeah, Harrison Butker's speech to let's see, which college was this? Benedictine College on Saturday. Basically left everyone pissed. Um, he just like doled out some criticism and disdain and basically everything you could get um, towards everyone that was not basically rocking this whole patriarchy thing.
Yeah.
So yeah. Now it's got everyone kind of hands-offing as fast as they can. If you want a football reference, they are fumbling him as hard as they possibly can at this point. The NFL is quick to remind everyone that the speech he gave was in his personal capacity.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah. But yeah, the Chiefs so far have nothing to say. Um,
Oh, they have.
it
They
was
have.
quite the
But
moment.
it's more the wives of the Chiefs have a lot to say.
Well, they should. They should. I mean, they were doing so good with because women in football has been a difficult demographic, and Taylor Swift has done a lot for the NFL in about the last year.
Mm-hmm.
Like really done a lot to pull in views, just to have one of their own, one of the teammates even basically show up, spit all over women, LGBTQ people, basically anyone and everyone.
Right.
Joe Biden, he didn't leave him out.
Yeah.
So yeah, no, it's been interesting. Lots of fallout, lots of angry people. Um, it's just I like if you haven't heard it, I'm not giving it airtime, but his speech is just
Right. And what gets me is his mother is a physicist. A physicist.
mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's a very weird thing here. Like it like just watching it is like, oh. To then find out that yes, his mother is a physicist, and it's just more, like how did you how did you end up here?
Well, what annoys me and what makes me even more worried is um, it's becoming more and more Andrew Tate style speech out of him.
Oh yeah.
The longer you listen to it, you hear Andrew Tate, and it's like, fuck off.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was. I mean, it's one of those speeches like 30 years ago. You might have
Mm-hmm.
heard it and been like, ugh.
Yeah.
And everyone would have moved on.
Mm-hmm.
Like seriously, 30 years ago,
Right.
I could see that speech being possible.
Right.
And, probably a general audience reaction of who's the old dude?
Yeah.
Like, that's crazy. And everyone moves on.
Right.
30 years later, however, it wouldn't have been appropriate then, but it would have been like, well, that's then okay.
Right.
You're paid for what you do on the field, not for commencement speeches.
Right.
We got it. Like you're not a good public speaker. You're about as demoralizing as humanly possible. That would have been like a 30-year reaction.
Right.
Is he even 30?
No.
No. Like he's older or he's younger than the ideas.
Right.
Like he grew up in a world.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he's 28 years old. And what he said 30 years ago would have left a graduating class going, ew.
Right.
But okay. Like, who's the old dude?
Like I had to check the date on it, and then I went, bitch, I'll get it out of the fucking kitchen and run it as a CEO if I damn well please to.
Yeah. So he also took time, especially in his speech, not the biggest part of. Mostly it was a slam on women's roles and what women should be looking forward to in their life and how they find fulfillment, which according to him is not in the workplace. Interesting take for a graduating college class. As your speech to them is that like you kind of wasted your time here. But he also took a little time out to make sure to Um, point out that they should have pride, but quote, not the kind that there's a month dedicated to, or the uh, not the sinful kind that there's a month dedicated to. Just wanted to make sure I got that properly phrased. Again, another jaw drop moment. And again, 30 years ago, everyone would have kind of still went, ew. And been like, but, you know, that yeah,
Yeah.
that's the world we lived in, past tense. Again, you would have been like, who's the old dude?
Mm-hmm.
Like that's some old thoughts there. But or 80. But no, he's younger than the ideas. It's kind of amazing that someone who was not alive then.
Right. Did not grow up in it bullshit.
Mm-hmm. I'm just
Did
saying,
not grow up in it.
like I graduated high school 24 years ago, so y'all do the math. You figure out I'm over 40. It's okay.
Right.
If his speech had occurred then, I think my classmates and I would have been like, "Oh my god, really?" Um, it took me an extra year to graduate college, so 2005 heard that speech, we would have all been like, "That was disgusting."
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I am. Meanwhile, I'm trying to imagine some of the women in my college commencement not punching him.
Right. I am surprised that he was not stormed off stage.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I would have figured. I would have kind of expected this to be a booed off stage moment,
Right.
like any of it, really. I guess give that graduating class some credit for being able to sit through it and do so like professional, intelligent people that they are.
Right.
In which let the old guy quit farting and move
Mm-hmm.
on.
Exactly.
Um, I mean, yeah, we definitely wonder what his mother had to say about that one.
I
Um,
hope she had to have one thing to say. I will take you out.
I'm just saying, it's Memorial Day soon. If they
Mm-hmm.
participate in a little cookout for Memorial
Mm-hmm.
Day, I think it's going to be awkward for him.
Right.
Just as much so as I hope it's awkward when he got home.
Right.
Because yeah, while he was paying some homage to his wife and such, um, didn't really paint her in a great light either.
Right.
It very much was a speech that's kind of like, I'm so glad that I have, you know, this woman in my life who gave up everything to basically mother me.
Right.
Like that's what I heard.
That's what I heard, and I was like, "Excuse me,
Yeah,
I don't think so."
yeah, like probably like, I mean, he seemed quite tearful about it.
Mm-hmm.
Um, it was still a moment though of just like,
Yeah.
you got kidding.
Yeah.
So I regret, like, I hate that for that class.
Right.
Um, the graduates of Benedictine who had to sit through that.
Right.
Um, I hope you.
I think I would rather him play this sunscreen song and be done with it.
Oh, the what now?
The sunscreen song. Oh, come on, you've got to have heard it.
No, I don't think. So, it's he's married. He's married. I'm just thinking it had to have been an interesting evening. Or once she found out. Like, I'm assuming she was there with him. I would imagine it would be an awkward moment to sit and listen. But if she didn't immediately know, let's just say
now. I'm just thinking, how did she allow him to leave the house? The song I'm referring to is "Everybody's Free," sung by Bays Hammond.
Okay. Oh, I have a link. Oh. Let me see.
I think it would have been better if you said, "Ladies and gents, class of 2024, wear sunscreen." If I could offer you one tip for the future, sunscreen would be it. As long a long-term benefit of sunscreen would be to provide, or was proven by scientists, whereas the rest of my advice has no basis on moral reasonable. Than my own memorable experiences, I will dispense the suffice now. Enjoy the power and beauty of your youth. Oh, never mind. You'll never understand the power and beauty of your youth until they fade. And trust me, in 20 years, you'll look back at photos of yourself and recall the ways you can't grip right now. How much possibilities lie before you, how fabulous you're really looked, and you're not as fat as you imagine. Don't worry about the future or worry, but know that worrying is an effortless to trying to solve an algebra equation by chewing bubblegum. The real trouble in your life, and epic to things that have never crossed your worried mind. The kind of blindness the blindsides you at 4 p.m. on some idle Tuesday. Do one thing every day that scares you. Saying don't be reckless with other people's hearts. Don't put up with people who are reckless with yours. Floss. Don't waste your time on jealousy. Sometimes you're ahead, sometimes you're behind. The race is long, and in the end, it's only with yourself. Remember, compliments that you receive, forget the insults. If you succeed in doing this, tell me how. Keep your old love letters, throw away your old bank statements. Stretch. Don't feel guilty if you don't know what you want to do in your life. Most interesting people I know didn't know at 22 what they wanted to do with their lives. Some of the most interesting people, 40 years old, I know still don't. Have plenty of calcium. Be kind to your knees. You'll miss them when they're gone. Maybe you'll marry, maybe you won't. Maybe you'll have children, maybe you won't. Maybe you divorce it for me. Maybe you'll dance the funky chicken on your 75th wedding anniversary. Whatever you do, don't congratulate yourself too much. Don't berate yourself either. Your choices are half chance. So is everybody else's. Your Enjoy your body. Use it in every way you can. Don't be afraid of it or what other people think of it. It is the greatest instrument you'll ever own. Dance dance even if you have nowhere to do it, but your own living room. Read the directions even if you don't follow them. Do not read beauty magazines. They will only make you feel ugly. Get to know your parents. You'll never know when they're gone for good. Be nice to your siblings. They're your best link to your past and the people most likely to stick with you in the future. Understand the friends come and go, but a precious few who should hold on to. Work hard to bridge the gaps in geology and lifestyle. From far the old you get, the more you'll need the people you knew when you were young. Live in New York once, but leave before it makes you hard. Live in Northern California once, but leave before it makes you soft. Travel, accept, exert inalienable truths. Prices will rise, politicals will pander, you too. We'll get old, and when you do, you'll fantasize about when you were young. Prices were reasonable, politicals were noble, and children respected their elders. Respect your elders. Don't expect anyone else to support you. Maybe you'll have a trust fund. Maybe you'll have a wealthy spouse. But you never know either when either might run out. Don't mess too much with your hair, or by the time you're 40, it'll look 85. Be careful of whose advice you buy. Be patient with those who supply it. Advice in forms of nostalgia dispensed in ways of fishing for the past. For those from the disposal, wipe it off, paint over the ugly parts, and recycling for more than it's worth. But trust me on the sunscreen. And yes, if I get copyrighted, big damn deal. That would have been a better consensus speech.
That would have been a better commencement speech. Just in case, anyone else wants to know what the rules are for a commencement speech, like what its purpose is. It is supposed to celebrate past experiences from the school, look forward to the future, acknowledge achievements, inspire and motivate students, or excuse me, graduates, reflect on challenges and opportunities, express gratitude and appreciation, and use storytelling to leave a lasting impression. I think he got too focused on the very last one and forgot everything up the list.
Right.
Just literally everything else went out.
Right.
So, if you're a celebrity and you're asked to give a commencement speech, perhaps focus
Mm-hmm.
on the rest of these.
Right.
Um, you know, Celebrating the past, looking forward to the future, acknowledging achievements, inspiring and motivating,
Right.
reflecting on challenges and opportunities, and some gratitude and appreciation. And not just use the opportunity for storytelling that leaves a lasting impression, because I'm sure that left a lasting impression, um, but not the kind anyone wanted, and certainly not one that inspired and motivated the graduates.
Mm.
So yeah, just notes for the future. Notes for the future. Like if you're a celebrity going, what the hell am I supposed to say in a commencement speech? We'll refer to this one as what not to say in a commencement speech that you're being paid to provide.
Right.
And I think that's the biggest insult is, you know, part of the money the school collected,
Mm-hmm.
even if it was $1 from each of the graduates, went
Mm-hmm.
to sit there and listen to that.
Yeah.
Uh,
I want a refund. I
I,
didn't pay a penny, but I want a refund.
I think I'd want a do-over, really.
Yeah.
I think that speech would have made me mad enough that it would become we the undersigned
Right.
of the class of 2024
Right.
would like a do-over.
Yeah.
That it is not an experience of being shit on what is one of the biggest days of our life,
Right.
by being told, by having our classmates told that, their accomplishments didn't matter. They weren't
Mm-hmm.
welcome here.
Right.
And oh, by the way,
Right.
the president sucks.
Right. Why is politicism infecting everything at this point?
Well, I mean, there is the argument that everything is political.
Right.
I, I just think you can get through a commencement speech.
Right.
And while it will have political overtones and
Right.
undertones, I I get that. I get that. I think that we can still manage to get through it while being inspiring and motivating without being
Mm-hmm.
demoralizing and disparaging.
Right.
If all he did was crack a joke about the president, no one would be.
Right. And if anything, I think he secured more votes for the Democratic Party this time.
Probably. Yeah. Meanwhile, at least he give him credit. He basically went after he pissed off the Swifties, is what's happened.
Yeah.
So he's getting well roasted,
Good.
well and truly roasted for it. Because again, you pissed off the Swifties. Oh, I'm sure the school is not going to like paying that invoice,
Mm-mm.
but they will. They will. I think it should be a learning experience for the school. Um, that because I make assumptions. I make assumptions that the graduates are not amused.
Good.
So, and I hope they're not, because they should not be. This should not be
Good.
how this went. So,
Well, I don't think that it should, like, I remember, I guess at valedictorian speeches, we talked about this, had to be approved by the school. Why are these not happening? Like, why is commencement speeches no longer having to be approved by the school?
you would have expected them, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, protect your money. Get a preview of the speech.
Right.
So you can, if nothing else, send feedback of, oh dear God, don't say that.
Right.
Or, hi, we're sorry, we've decided to go with something else. Like, we'll
Right.
eat the cost of reprinting all the programs.
Mm-hmm.
Because no.
Right.
Yeah. But yeah, so additionally, he also took jabs at diversity, equity, and inclusion.
Mm-hmm.
So I hope there was no one there in
Right.
that graduating class that got that lovely shit upon. That basically, on the day in which you are graduating with your degree, being told one more time, you took a spot from someone more deserving.
Yeah.
Because you were a diversity inclusion. Oh wait, that's probably what every woman there heard.
Yep.
Again, 30 years ago, those statements were just ugly.
Right.
But we kind of all went, okay, it is the times we live in. What more can we do? Because unfortunately, we did not have the broad reach of the internet that we have today. We had the internet. It just we would have been a few years out of YouTube.
Right.
And social media wasn't quite as social or as viral. I start to have appreciation for where we are in the world when moments like this happen. And
yeah, I'm just looking back and thinking of mine. We didn't even have MySpace at the time, so we were still at RRC and Yahoo.
Yeah. No, YouTube existed when I graduated college, not high school.
Right.
Again, just telling you what the differentials look like. Um, but even at that, it's not like it would have been recorded and accessible online, most likely. This would have been a dead story in a local paper.
Right.
Like that's at best. And that's if a paper even picked it up and said anything negative. And wasn't just awed by local NFL or, Kansas City Chiefs NFL player gives commencement speech, buried somewhere over in, the B section.
Yeah, 6 degrees. When I graduated school, was the only social media open.
Yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, it is the benefits of social media is that
Mhm.
this becomes part of the actual conversation.
Yeah.
That it doesn't get lost. That people
Right.
know this occurred.
Right.
And do have the ability to sit here and say, what a load of crap.
Exactly. Exactly.
I mean, for what it's worth to anyone who sat
Right.
through that commencement speech, that was horribly offended and felt shit upon, and like
Right.
everything they just did for the last 4 or 5, 6, whatever years it took them,
Right.
just got a giant dump truck of raw sewage spilled upon it. It at least maybe take some solace in the fact that you're not alone.
Right.
Like the greater world looks at this and is horrified for you
Right.
because that's not the experience you should have had.
Right.
Not at the current cost of an education, not at the current, like, not at everything that it required for you to get there, be there, and finish. Because, I mean,
Mhm.
the statistics on graduation
Are
um,
astounding.
are like, honestly, because we looked those up a while back.
Mhm.
That what the statistics are for becoming a college graduate and everything that entails. Um, to have anyone show up and try to spoil that, ruin that for you.
Yep.
It's like you, I don't care how privileged you are. It's a struggle
Right.
to get to that point. The less privileged you are, and the you
Mhm.
know, it just makes the struggle bigger. Even privileged kids struggle to get there.
Right.
Like there's there's a certain ubiquity to being a college graduate that makes us think that well anyone can do it.
Mhm.
Um, the actual numbers are small.
Yep.
There's a lot of people that go to college but don't graduate.
Right.
There's a lot of people that start college
Right.
and don't get anywhere near finishing. There's
Right.
a lot of people that never even considered college because they couldn't.
Yep.
Like there was
And
no.
there's a lot that don't need college. Point blank.
There is a big debate over the necessity of college,
Yep.
um, and I think that's fair. But I don't think that gives anyone the right to shit on
Right.
it, especially not someone
Right.
who argumentatively, um, most likely became a star athlete in high school
Mhm.
and wasn't just privileged, but was accelerated
Right.
beyond having to worry about whether or not he was going to graduate high school, whether or not he was going to be able to afford to go to college, whether or not he was going to graduate.
Right.
And
You know, but
that,
I will say this, and yes, I'm saying this with multiple. master's degrees now behind me. There are many things that I do in my life, that I have done in my life, that I have not had a college degree for, and probably would never need one.
But does that make you wish you didn't bother to get
Sometimes. Sometimes I wish I didn't. Sometimes I wish that that the expectations at the time that I went to school was different. So I see so many people who are paying $90,000 and $50,000 for a degree they'll never use, never wanted. But their parents expected them to go to school, and then when they got out of school, they went for their passion, and they got a job that doesn't use the degree, and they're very happy in not having that degree, for the job.
which I think is true, but I still don't think gives anyone the right to shit on the achievement.
No, I don't think it gives a right at all. But I also think that we need, as a society, needs to take a different look and stop going, everyone has to go to college. Or you're nothing. No. That's bullshit. All right. So we all clutched and held our breath Friday. Well, Thursday.
Okay. So we're talking about the inadvertent mistake.
Yes.
All right. So tensions rise as judge finds error in Chad Daybell's murder indictment. After prosecutors rested their case in Chad Daybell's triple murder trial, the judge dropped a bombshell, potentially altering the direction and outcome of the case. So tensions were high in an Ada County courtroom Thursday as a clerical error on Chad Daybell's indictment prompted the presiding judge to evaluate and reconsider one of the first-degree murder charges brought against him. Daybell is facing first-degree murder charges in the death of his wife, Lori Vallow's children, J.J. Vallow and Tylee Ryan, as well as his former wife, Tammy Daybell, among other charges. Less than an hour after state prosecutors rested their case in Daybell's triple murder trial, Judge Stephen Boyce dropped a bombshell regarding an error identified in the murder indictment, potentially altering the direction and therefore outcome of the case. After the state formally concluded their arguments and jurors were dismissed for the day, Judge Boyce heard arguments from the defense in what is typically a pretty standard motion hearing, in which the defense likely makes one last plea requesting an acquittal for the defendant. However, in an unrelated and unforeseen twist of events, Boyce noticed a significant error in Daybell's indictment. Court documents reflected incorrect dates on count 4 of the indictment, which is the first-degree murder charge for J.J. Vallow. As justice for J.J. hung in the balance, his grandfather, Larry Woodcock, stood outside the courthouse, confused, surprised, and disheartened as he awaited the judge's ruling. Right now, it's very confusing. I'm very disappointed. I'm very hurt, and I don't know what the ruling's going to be. Nobody does. I just want a fair, just, honorable, and righteous ruling by the court. Defense attorney John Pryor requested the judge make a directed verdict, which is a ruling from the judge rather than the jury, if the judge determines that there is no legally sufficient evidentiary basis for a reasonable jury to reach a different conclusion. He argued that the state's provided evidence was insufficient and there is no indication that Daybell was present for the murders of J.J. and Tylee. Following Pryor's argument, Boyce stated that he was prepared to make a ruling. However, the language error in the indictment for the murder of J.J. Vallow had the potential to severely alter the direction and continuance of Daybell's murder trial and therefore had to be addressed separately. I will hope that the murder of JJ will be kept into evidence, Woodcock said. The death dates listed for JJ Vallow on the indictment are actually the suspected death dates for Tylee Ryan, sometime between September 8th and September 9th, 2019. JJ Vallow is presumed to have died between September 22nd and September 23rd, according to prosecutors. Although likely a clerical mistake, Idaho state law prohibits amendments to an indictment after the state officially rests its case. Pryor argued that the count 4 charge of first-degree murder should be dropped, stating the prosecution lost their chance to edit the indictment and don't get to go back. Judge, I'm asking the court to dismiss this charge, Pryor said. The prosecution presented 3 possible solutions. One was for the judge to overrule state law on indictment amendments post-arrest and simply correct the record. The second was to accept the mistake and instruct the jury accordingly. And the last proposed solution was for Boyce to reject modifying the indictment and reopen the case. Your Honor, we're all kind of falling on our sword here, Pryor contested. This was clearly an oversight. We're talking about a clerical error in a subsequent document that was not in the initial document. This is exactly the type of mistake or inadvertence that the court could reopen this case for. Boyce recessed the motion hearing and gave the state 2 hours to prepare for argument, scheduled to resume at 2:30 p.m. The hearing reconvened for approximately 30 minutes before recessing again to allow the judge to consider all possible options and outcomes before making a final ruling on the validity of count 4, charging Daybell with first-degree murder of J.J. Vallow. Judge Boyce ultimately denied all requests and challenges posed by the defense, justifying its decision based on valid witness testimonials, sufficient evidence provided by the state, and most significantly, Boyce denied challenges to count 4, citing that the court did not authorize the February amendment in which the typo mistake was made. Court is scheduled to reconvene Monday, May 20th, with Daybell's attorney presenting his case to the jury.
Right. And see, this is what I didn't get, other than I think the judge is a little drama queen. And that was, he should have caught this when he included the amendment, the amended documents, and should have said, I didn't tell you to change count 4. Why was count 4 changed?
One, this is exactly what someone's talking about when they say got off on a technicality. Mm-hmm. Is that our legal system is very persnickety.
Yeah.
And this, for most other professions, this is one of those, it's a misprint. It's one person made one mistake in one place.
Right.
We all know what we were talking about. We all know the case we presented. We all know what went on.
Right.
Why is one slip of paper becoming the problem?
Right.
Fundamentally, it being, what did you charge him with? That's fundamentally what comes into play here. Is if J.J. Vallow was still living on September 9th or September 8th and 9th, then that charge of murder is null and void. He could not have killed him on September 8th or 9th.
No.
He was alive. That's how exacting we are in our court filings. So it's not just a clerical error. You're talking about a crime that couldn't have occurred. You can't convict someone of a crime they did not commit. Even if we all know what crime he committed and what crime they were talking about in court, the documentation said something. Do I think someone should have caught this well before now? Yes.
Yes. But that's what I'm saying is, why did the judge wait until the state rested, Like the minute they had submitted that and he supposedly read the documents, why did he not come back and go, prosecutors? I told you you could edit count 1, 2, 1, 3, and 5.
Mhm.
You edited count 4. You are not allowed to edit that. I did not authorize you to edit that charge. I would have.
I mean, I think that's fundamentally what the prosecution was hoping that he would do.
Mm-hmm.
Um, the reality is they moved forward beyond that.
Right.
So fundamentally, it changed the case without realizing what it. I don't think it was he was being like, so to speak, a grammar Nazi about it.
No.
Um, in like I don't think it was a gotcha moment. I think it was literally he didn't catch it until they had already started to work on it. At
Right.
which point it's we have a problem.
Right.
You just did a thing.
Yeah.
And I
See,
don't
and
know how to
also when this happened, I started disliking John Proctor even more so.
okay.
And I am very well that everyone just should have a defense, and the defense is the defense. And, yes, he's doing a decent job with a shitty case. However, he told the reporter, I knew that mistake was there. I was just keeping it in my back pocket. Do what?
For the defense, yeah. It was not your job to help the prosecution convict your client.
It is not, but it is your job to be honest with the court.
And that's where sometimes the question becomes, I mean, argumentatively,
Mm-hmm.
was there going to be a possibility that without touching it, and
Mm-hmm.
therefore already bringing the problem in the door,
Great.
that they were going to be able to rectify it without touching it
Great.
and therefore establishing? But even then, it's not necessary. I don't necessarily see it as a dishonesty on the part of the defense. I don't think it's a dishonesty of anyone's.
Great.
To be very blunt about it, I don't think it was anyone's dishonesty that caused this.
Mm-hmm.
I think you can see the mistake and know that, well, that's our one shot to possibly get rid of count 4.
Right. Which is a heavier count. It's more emotionally driven count. You know, we know this jury and the past jury uh, reacted very heavily to this autopsy report. They connected very deeply with the JJ murders. Um, and of course, the
And
Tyler murders,
it's,
but he's got more. But I think the JJ murder is going to put more weight behind
yeah. Well, and there was also a possibility that, because I think the bigger point there is that concerns of, well, did he kill his wife or didn't he kill his wife?
it. Mm-hmm.
Then concerns over, well, did he kill Tylee or did he not kill Tylee?
Mm-hmm.
I think it was JJ that it's like, no, we're pretty sure he killed him.
Yeah.
Like we're more like that's the least shaky evidence.
Mm-hmm.
The other two murders,
Mm.
it's possible he wasn't.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, did he kill his wife? Didn't he kill his wife? Was that more, like, how did that work out? Was he involved, but he didn't do it? Like conspiracy, but not,
Right.
yeah. But I think when you get to JJ, it's like, oh no, that's the one.
Yeah.
And so but then in comes the problem of, if you have to instruct this jury to ignore J.J. Vallow
Right.
all the way back through the trial,
Right.
just totally forget J.J. was there,
Right.
was murdered, was found, like rip all that out, do you really have a case left?
Right.
Like, is it more likely than not that they're going to go not guilty?
Yeah.
We can't decide.
Right. There's
Like,
not enough evidence.
but it's a little easier with JJ there and being murdered by him that to feel, I don't know, like, it's more likely that he committed the other acts.
Yes.
I mean, but
I'm sorry. I think he's guilty of all.
These cases have been so whacked out.
Mm-hmm.
I would probably be the worst juror ever.
Mm-hmm.
Not in a, I don't, like, it's not that I think that he's just a wonderful guy and could have never done any of this. It's not that.
Mm-hmm.
It's more so, this is all just so screwed up.
Mm-hmm.
I think the truth is probably more screwed up than anything that went through a courtroom.
Well, and that's the scary part with this one, is because, and I keep, if, and this is if, he hadn't took his own life, I keep harking back to Jonestown and what that court case would look like. Because that's what we're basically watching play out here.
Yeah.
In this side of the court case.
Well, and that's probably a good point to make at this juncture almost, is unless you can, like, dead to rights, put a gun, a shovel, a murder instrument in his hand at a date, a time, and a place where only he could have committed an act, it almost becomes questionable whether he ever had to lift a finger. That fundamentally, yeah, he's the reason these people are dead. But did he really even have to do anything other than slightly mention it would be convenient that they were not living?
Well, see, he done more than that. He imprinted the idea, and I think this is why two of his followers have immunity. But I don't think it's connected to the children. I think it's connected to, shooting at a husband, which he isn't currently charged with. But, if, I said, I don't know, their death percentage is 99.995. Or, they are demons, they need to be destroyed. That's what he did. He basically gave order.
But that starts to question. But did he kill them? Did he order them killed, or did he simply state an opinion? I mean, and someone took action with it. And that's where this gets hard to decide. And I think a lot of credit needs to be given to juries in cases like this, where it's not necessarily clear that where the distinction line is between having influence over someone's actions and their own messed up understanding.
Right.
Like, how much are you controlling someone versus how much of it could be this is a crazy person who got the wrong idea.
Right.
Like,
Well,
you
and
know,
then when we look at, when looking at the wife, I've rarely slept alone for the past 20 years. He was married for 20, 25 years, but didn't notice that the she wasn't breathing. Like, this is where I have issues at. Like, I can notice if I wake up if you cough. Didn't
again,
notice she was not breathing for hours.
I
Excuse
mean,
me.
do I find it hard to believe? Yes. Do I think it's impossible? No. I think it's most spouses' worst nightmare
Yeah.
is that you would wake up next to your deceased spouse having heard nothing go wrong.
Right. Okay. And then furthermore, she's half off the bed, looking like she had fallen on the bed. You wouldn't notice that when you're the second person to go to bed.
How
What
dark is
planet?
your room? Well, I mean, semi oddball question, but how big is your room and how big is the bed?
Right.
You know what I mean? Um, you would think someone would notice. You would think someone would have caught that. How tired were you when you went to bed? Like, had you had anything to drink? Were you on any altering substances? Were you? I mean, I would think there would be, an argument to be made. It's again,
Mm-hmm.
it starts to strain
Right.
believability, but I think we could all also figure out like it could happen.
Right.
Like it could happen.
Yeah. But I don't think that's a question they haven't covered yet. How big was the bed?
I mean, was it like I don't know. I think in some instances we might think that we would notice things that we might not.
Right.
And again, it comes down to a lot of different variables. If you are used to sleeping next to a larger partner, if it's a smaller bed,
Mm-hmm.
it's a little harder not to notice things.
Yeah.
But if you're like in an adjustable bed and independent, base, like it's a totally like two-sided, like the Craftmatic adjustable thing,
Mm-hmm.
and it's a very dark room. It's a king size bed with two independent platforms. There's usually a sound machine, or like say there's a CPAP or something and it's running.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like figuring out in that moment, like based on one's own experiences versus what someone else perfectly normally does. It's not
Yeah.
that out of the realm. Um, to put yourself in that situation where it's a pitch black room, the
Mm-hmm.
sound machine is a going. It's a,
Mm-hmm.
it's an adjustable bed. She's not on your side.
All right.
She's not splayed out over your side of the bed.
Right.
Could you potentially get into bed and never notice?
Right. The other part there that I found interesting is they're trying to um, put up to the effect that the dead body rolled under the bed.
Okay. Well,
Yeah.
from Brenda, I had a California king and noticed when I thought the ex wasn't breathing, sleep app. Again, what's the environment of that bedroom?
Yeah.
Like, was that through a sound machine, through a CPAP, through all
We
of
know
it?
that she wasn't on the CPAP because that could have been even messier.
Yeah.
Because
Again,
those that don't know, a CPAP will keep blowing air into the lungs and will cause a false time of death.
yeah. Well, and then the other part of that is, like, depending upon the age of those machines, some of the newer ones are near silent.
Right.
But there's still a lot of old machines out there that haven't been replaced.
Right.
And those were monsters.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it was like having an air conditioner setting on a nightstand.
Right.
I can safely say, having slept with a few people with sleep apnea, and the old monster machines,
Mm-hmm.
once the machine came on, I couldn't tell you if they're breathing or not.
Right.
I like, in terms of sleep, it's one of those things that, yeah, without it in a dead silent room, I would wake up all night long every time you quit breathing. But with the newer, or with the machine on,
Mm-hmm.
unless you're right against me and I can actually feel when someone, like, goes slack and quits breathing, or more importantly, when they startle because they start breathing,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, that would wake me up. Um, and I assume that based on, like, limited dating experience. I don't know what happens if you deal with someone with that for 20 years.
Right.
If there's at some point that you just know you're going to wake up one day and they're going to be dead.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, your brain just accepts the fact that, yeah, you basically quit breathing and die
Mm-hmm.
multiple times a night. There's nothing I can do about that. Like, put your machine on, use it.
Right.
I hope that helps. But I think at some point, maybe after, 5 years, 10 years, 20 years,
Mm-hmm.
you might just quit registering it. That
I
it's
don't.
like snoring. You know what I mean? Like, there's
Mm-hmm.
many couples that go through just snoring is a problem.
No.
And for some partners, it's never a problem. They don't care if it sounds like there is a lumberjack cutting down a forest all night long. Nothing's going to interfere with their sleep. There's other partners that it's like, if you whistle, just you have a little sinus clog and there's just the littlest whistle,
Yeah.
keeps them up all night long.
Mm-hmm.
Cannot get around. And everyone in between.
Yeah.
That sometimes it's bothersome, sometimes it's not. Depends upon how loud and consistent.
Right.
Like, it's the oddities of being two grown adults sleeping next to each other.
Mm-hmm.
Some things are like, cannot stand it. Just, ew, God, no, get me away from you. And some things are like, yeah, that happens.
Mm-hmm.
Like, just, yeah, that happens.
Mm-hmm.
Like, there are couples that, like, you sleep with the television on.
Yep.
I have to say, for the first while, it about drove me crazy. I've started to move into, as long as I'm already asleep, I don't care.
Right.
It doesn't really affect me. But, like, if there's that moment where I'm trying to fall asleep,
Yeah. Depending on what I watch. Now, I'm not allowed to listen to Audible books anymore because that used to be a resource for me. Yes.
no audible books, no audible books, no audible books. Um,
No
like,
Emily
yeah,
D. Baker.
oh God, no Emily D. Baker. I love Emily D. Baker. Like, this is not the Emily D. Baker hate cast. Um, I do. I think you're great. You do a lot of great content. I can't fall asleep to her.
Right.
Like, like, sorry, you do not have a voice. Like, biggest insult for Emily D. Baker right here. You do not have a voice conducive to falling asleep to. most people would call that a good thing.
Right.
Like, I'm sorry you don't put me to sleep.
Right.
Awkward apology. Um,
But no, these are. But she's not a like I have trouble falling asleep to her because I get caught up in the case and her view of the case, which I definitely live. But no, there's certain creators that I don't watch to fall asleep to, and there's others. The only reason I'm watching them is to fall asleep.
and there are some, I understand it puts you to sleep, but it will sit there and it is worse
Yeah.
than being engrossed in it. It's the, oh dear God, will you please shut up and go away?
Right.
And it's a certain tonal inflection thing
Mm-hmm.
that just no, no, I can't follow. No, it's driving me crazy. I want to punch this person.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, why do
Um,
you have a YouTube channel? I want it taken down.
yeah.
No one should ever encounter this while trying to go to sleep.
Let me go. I know the YouTuber you're talking about. I just have to go to my subscriptions and find them.
And what it is it's the way that they say everything kind of
Uh
comes
huh.
up at the end. And so everything sounds like a question.
Mm-hmm.
And I just sit there and it's like, shut up, shut up, shut up, shut up. Like, I can't, it just hits a nerve. And it's like they do great content. I appreciate their content. I just can't stand to listen to them. I'd rather read their content, quite frankly. And that's fully awake and not intending to go to sleep. They annoy me from other rooms.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I mean, no one can help how they talk, and it's not about like making someone feel horrible for that. I'm just saying, for me, in terms of things that I can tune out or tune in or however you want to put it, I can't. Like, it will keep me awake. It is like torture.
Where is he?
Oh yeah, Brenda's like, have heard a couple of meditation ones that I just can't. They're anything but relaxing. Yeah, it's
Criminally
that.
listed. I cannot watch, and that's the one that would drive me crazy. Like if I want
Is
to listen
which
to
one?
criminally listed, I
Yeah.
put on earbuds.
Yes. Yes, please.
Yes.
And it's more so that it keeps dragging my attention in, and I just can't tune it out.
Yeah.
Like, there's not a, like, I keep feeling like I'm being interrogated.
Right.
And like, I'm not. They're not a real person in the room. You don't have to answer them. But it's like being interrogated.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, shut up, shut up, shut up.
Law and Lumber does that to you too.
Possibly, yeah.
Yeah,
I
he's
know
the lawyer
criminally.
that does woodworking and discusses cases. You can't ignore him.
Yeah, I think that was one that like you switched really quickly though, because I thought it was the
Yeah.
same.
Yeah.
And you were like, no, that, because I remember that conversation. You were like, no, that's a different one, but all right. Like, can't watch that one either. Uh,
Yep.
like, no, it's like, I'm sorry, I'm totally there, and like, difference between rules and boundaries. You are allowed to listen to it all you want to. I just can't be able to hear it.
Right.
Like, it will drive me out of the house. Um, like, I can't.
Yeah. Like
It
it.
yanks my focus away from anything else I'm trying to do.
Yep.
Like, I
But these
and
are
if
the
I
joys of having a person that prefers to be totally audible, totally voice, you know, versus text.
which I'm fine with. It's just, we also have to like respect the fact that, like, no, I can't get drugged down a rabbit hole
Right.
of like listening to this content instead of like working or
Mhm.
sleeping. Like,
Yeah.
we got to make some, like, it's not you're not allowed to ever listen to them. I think they're horrible
Mhm.
So, it's not like the relationship killer. But if you listen to them while I'm trying to sleep without headphones,
Mhm.
we have issues
Yes.
called I can't sleep. That's a bigger problem than this. Like, figure out a different time, figure out a different way. You can go listen to them all you want to. I just can't be able to hear them.
Right.
Like, make that work for yourself. It's
Yeah.
not a you can never listen to them. Like, you want to listen to them in the car while you're at the gym. Like,
Mhm.
cool, awesome, great, amazing. I'll even watch some of the content with you, probably to a point. But it would require me to not be trying to do anything else because I can't.
Right. You know.
Like, that's
So.
the difference between like a boundary and a rule. I'm not declaring you can't listen to me. I'm just
Right.
saying if you do, and I can hear them, I have to get away from you.
Yes.
Um,
Alrighty then. Now we do have an important travel advisory that has been listed. Thank
so
you, State
yes, the
Department.
State Department issues unusual worldwide LGBTQ plus travel alert. The alert comes as Pride Month approaches in June. So, Americans traveling abroad for Pride Month should take precautions because of an increased risk of terrorist violence, the State Department said Friday, in an unusual message to LGBTQ plus people. The State Department said in a travel advisory that U.S. citizens should stay alert in tourist areas and places popular with LGBTQ plus people. It did not mention specific threats or advise against travel. U.S. diplomats, U.S. diplomats have been directed to email the travel warning to all Americans who have registered with the State Department while abroad, according to a U.S. official granted anonymity to discuss internal matters. The warning came as Secretary of State Anthony Blinken marked the International Day Against Homophobia, Biphobia, Interphobia, and Transphobia. Even as more countries make meaningful advancements towards full equality, LGBTQI plus persons continue to be sentenced to death for daring to live their sexual orientation or gender identity, subjected to coercive conversion therapies and normalization surgeries, discriminated against while receiving health services, restricted from exercising fundamental freedoms, and denied the dignity of same sex partnership and fulfillment of family, Blinken said in a statement. The State Department alert came a week after the FBI and Department of Homeland Security issued a similar joint public service announcement warning of potential foreign terrorist violence against LGBTQ plus events and venues. The earlier announcement did not specify any locations or provide any details about specific threats. The alerts released come days ahead of the start of Pride Month, an annual celebration recognizing LGBTQ plus people. Over the past year, LGBTQ plus people have been targeted in the United States through various anti-LGBTQ plus bills, amounting to over 500 bills introduced this year, according to the ACLU. The Human Rights Campaign also declared a state of emergency in 2023 for LGBTQ plus people due to the rise in anti-LGBTQ plus bills being introduced in state legislatures.
I find
I
it
have
interesting. The
a
most of the
question.
things cited in this travel warning,
Mm-hmm.
he needs to be issuing for the interior.
Fair enough. I'm just going, which is worse, traveling abroad while gay or living here while gay?
Mm,
Like, which is worse?
that's a coin toss. Well, that's why I say, like, Alabama, I'm not coming to. Florida, I'm not coming to. Texas, I'm not coming to. Sorry, you guys are under a travel advisory.
I mean, it's kind of a moment of like, which is worse, putting your hand down the garbage disposal in your sink in your home, or going into your neighbor's yard and putting your hand into a wood chipper. I feel like somehow there's better luck with the wood chipper. I mean,
Probably.
not telling anyone to disregard the travel advisories, obviously.
Obviously.
But it kind of feels like draw attention away from how horrible it is here at home
Mm-hmm.
by pointing out there's also things going on in the world that, the wider world, that may also be dangerous. It's like, no shit, we were kind of aware of that. Why don't you deal with some of the shit happening here? The thing you can control, instead of just pointing out, oh yeah, it's also dangerous other places too.
Mm-hmm.
That's what it feels like. Like, are there any resources like pointing out like what specifically they may be trying to talk about? Like, is there a legitimate higher risk and they're just not willing to put a name on it? Like, I think we're all clear, don't go to Russia. Like, don't go to Russia and be gay. I think we're all clear. Like, your rainbow family status, not something good in Russia.
All right, places you should not travel to, according to Forbes magazine. 20 of the worst places for gay travelers in 2021.
Yeah. So,
come on, where's your list? Nicaragua, Saudi Arabia. Sorry, I'm gonna transfer this over.
Okay.
I've read too much of Ford magazine.
Let me see if it'll let me through. Oh, yes, it'll let me through. All right, so what do we got on this list? So Nigeria, Saudi Arabia, Malaysia, so Malawi. Sorry, I just now found out that was a place. So Oman, Jamaica, Myanmar, Qatar, United Arab Emirates, Yemen, Zambia, Tanzania, Sudan, West Bank, and Gaza. I don't think anyone is currently making travel plans to the West Bank and Gaza. Iran, Uganda, Maldives, Morocco. Interesting. Egypt, Algeria. Anyone surprised by, like, horribly surprised by that list?
None.
Like, and so your safest travel destinations are Canada, the Netherlands, Sweden, Malta, Portugal. That's your top 5. Safest places to be gay and travel.
Right.
Or your rainbow flags. Again, not a surprising list.
Yeah. Like, if Canada had beaches, I'd be all keen there. The Netherlands, I would love to visit in their summer. You know, the one I'm really surprised did not make it? Australia.
Canada had beaches.
Yes.
No, I mean, what do you mean by that?
Meaning that they did not have snow 6 feet deep.
Okay, see, that's different. I'm like, they have 2 coastlines.
Yeah.
2 big coastlines. I'm like, it's not a landlocked country.
Well, no, it's not a landlocked country. It's a snow-locked country.
Yeah, it's a snow-buried country. Like, there's a very
right.
short window in which being on the beach in Canada is, like, not a cause to be locked up.
Right.
Like, you're a danger to yourself.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Like, the rest of the time, like, yeah, it's your mileage will vary. Right. But yeah, no, I doubt any of those have massively, drastically changed. Like, I would feel pretty confident the top 5 is still the top 5. maybe some jockeying in that. On the 20 worst, again, I don't think anyone's surprised horribly. I think
Right.
Morocco was a little odd for me. Didn't
Right.
quite see that one. But okay, cool.
Yeah.
I don't, and again, I don't think anyone's planning to go to Gaza.
Right.
For the love of God, if your travel destination this year is
Right.
Gaza, are you a foreign war correspondent? Because if not,
Right.
maybe don't. Not the year to go to Gaza.
Right.
Like, I think we can all agree it's going to be a bad trip.
Right.
Like, whether you're gay or straight or, cisgendered or not, it's a bad idea. Like,
Right.
across the doesn't even really matter, really. Bad for everyone. Bad for life.
Right.
Just if you're living and like to stay that way, maybe no Gaza this year.
Right.
Just I think we could all.
Okay, so I looked up Mexico, which is, my planned destination. They have a equality index of 75 out of 100, legal rights 93 out of 100, and public opinion 57 out of 100.
Yeah, it's the last one that's going to get you. Like, it's not a horrible place. It's like, but the public side of it can be an issue.
Right.
Because it is a majorly Catholic country.
Yeah.
So your mileage is going to vary. You get into some of the bigger cities, no one's going to notice.
Right.
Would not suggest going into like off the beaten path.
Okay, so the World Equality Index. Number 1 is Iceland, then Norway, Malta, Denmark, Ukraine. Huh?
Again, the top 5 from Forbes.
Right.
Malta.
Yeah. Number 6 is Spain, Netherlands. Number 8 is Canada. 9 is Germany, and 10 is Chile.
And way down that list.
Where do we schedule into the Equality Index? Anyone want to guess?
I'm figuring somewhere in the 20s.
Lower.
Tell me we hit the top.
We did not hit the top 50.
Jesus Christ. Are we in the top 100?
No.
Oh, God.
Let's go up here.
Like, are we on the list? Like, please tell me it's not better to be gay in Iran.
We are number 26.
Oh, we're number 26. Okay, so we're in the 20s. That's where I thought we'd be.
Yeah. Our equality index is 74 out of 100. Our legal rights are 86 out of 100, and public opinion is 62 out of 100.
Yeah, so we're a little, basically, if you average it out, we're a little better. We eke out a little better than Mexico. Like the public opinion's higher, the legal protections are lower, but the index is higher.
No.
I think.
No, Mexico's higher than us, honey.
Okay, but again, it's like a thin line.
They score 75, 93, 57. We score a 74, 86, 62.
Yeah. So again, public opinion in the U.S. is a little better because we're not as majorly a Catholic country.
Right.
Is basically what that's going to work down to.
Right. But in Mexico, we have more rights.
Yeah, we have more rights, and then the total index score is just a hair different.
Yep. That's weird. Can I just say
right?
that's weird?
I know, right?
All our life in the U.S., we have been taught that Mexico's worse. Mexico's worse.
But here's the deal. Some of that was true. I want to say it's roughly the past 15 years that Mexico has like, so to speak, got its act together.
Mm-hmm.
And pulled that ranking off. Like, if you were to back up 15 years and look at the same, I think they would be a good bit lower on the list. Like, there was a point, like, hi, U.S., gay Mecca, like, we pretty much got this going on here. And again, these countries have jockeyed up and down this list.
Right.
If you go back 20 years, the U.S. would have been way down the list.
Right.
Like,
and we're losing and falling down the list more and more every year.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Well, again, that means the world's getting better.
Right.
And that we kind of have hit a plateau that we can't seem to, like, we're struggling to come up. It's not necessarily it's getting worse in the U.S. I know it feels that way. I think it's more so we're on a plateau and we keep expecting more, and then just look at it and go, "Are you fucking kidding me?"
Yeah.
Like, we're gonna have this argument again.
Yeah.
Like, I thought we'd settled that.
Right.
But yeah. Meanwhile, other countries tend to have hit their moment in which, the LGBTQ are people and deserve rights. And I think they not only get, like, a base package, but also, like, other thoughts from around the world. Like, they're not first in line to start adding protections. They get a more evolved list when they do, and then it puts them on a different plateau. What I think they also did plateau, which is, okay, you now have rights and you're a human being, and, like, we're not going to kill you, and, like, conversion therapy sucks, and we shouldn't do that and make it illegal. And then it kind of sits there for a while.
Right. And since you live together as a couple, you're going to pay marriage tax.
Yeah. Like, yeah. Again, it's a more evolved list versus countries like the U.S., where, we shot up the list real quick way back when.
Mm-hmm.
And we've also plateaued. Again, I think it's a fit and start kind of thing. You come up, it gets better, and then you ride that for a good long time before we have the next evolution of thought. And it's kind of like, okay, here's the add-on pack. The U.S. hasn't really gotten its add-on pack.
Well, the U.S. hasn't, it has had the Equality Act sitting in Congress for a good 10 years. This pack's already been passed in Mexico. This pack's already been passed in Australia. This pack's already been passed in the UK.
Yeah, and that's kind of what I'm saying, though, but those were also countries that delayed. Like, they didn't, like, they came up after us with a more evolved set when they did.
Mm-hmm.
And so, they got some add-ons when they first did it. And the U.S. just still hasn't done it.
Right.
So, again, I think it's probably a little ways down the road that will hit the next evolution. And other countries will shoot up the list from, like, oh, God, this is a horrible place to be gay. Okay, now we've adopted the super PAC of laws, and it's a phenomenal place to be gay.
Right.
Mostly. Like, you got the massive shift in public opinion. You have the massive legal protection shift. Like, you're going to see bigger swings than like what the U.S. originally got, which we dribbled out a bunch of little protections, which were monumental at the time. Let's not all forget that. These were monumental, like, culture shifting things. In hindsight now, not that big. Not that big.
Right. And
like,
and that's why, like, Berkeley, California, when we got protection there for rental rights, yeah, we're talking about them. Why? Because these are monumental, but they're small.
Yeah.
Having no choice to rent, you must own, is ridiculous.
Like, for instance, if Iran were to change tomorrow, they're going to shoot way up the list, because probably what they're going to get as legal protections is going to be enormous, because all these other ideas would be included with it. Now, do I expect Iran to shoot up the list tomorrow? No. But if they did, it's going to be a massive, like, omnibus, like, blah. And so, yeah, they're going to suddenly look better than Canada. Public opinion's going to be crap for a while, but the legal protections and what all they would get would be massive.
Right, which is surprising. Like, this is my problem when it comes to, like, Iran and other countries that are Islamically led. Like, there is so much religious doctrine that they're not paying attention to within their own Islam. That's what's like, read your books.
Oh, read the U.S. laws.
Yeah.
And go, we're a Christian nation? What?
When?
Like, the amount of religion in the U.S. legal system is basically a pamphlet.
Right.
Like, Bible. The amount of it that made it into law.
Right.
Bible, amount that made it into law.
Right. And most of that is, what is the word I'm looking for? Not really law, it's anecdotal. Well, anecdotal.
Yeah. Well, and you could interpret it that way.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, it's evidence that we're a Christian nation, because why else would we have a law like that?
Right.
I don't know. Maybe if you look through the majority of the world's religions, you find some common threads, and we just generally, as people, think these might be good ideas.
Right. Well, and then it's misinformation.
Yeah.
Like, there is so much misinformation out there about the Jefferson Papers that, if you have any interest in history, read the Jefferson Papers. This will be a vastly different country under Jefferson.
I don't know if you want an eye opener, figure out how we got, the pledge in schools, and in God we trust on money.
Yep. And why?
Yeah, because the why. L3 for Luke. L3.
Yeah. All right. So now it's time to figure out if you're an asshole.
All right. Am I the asshole for sending a price sheet to my family after not being invited to my half-sister's wedding? Let's get straight to the point. I, 22 female, am a full-time baker for a small business and college student. I moved back up to my home state in September of 2023, mostly to get away from my toxic family and for better opportunities. Also, to add why this is even an issue in the first place, my brother Jay, 25 male, and I are the black sheep of the family. mostly due to the fact we were born and mostly raised outside of marriage. The teasing and neglect only grew worse after our mother, 44 female, married Jerkfish, 54 male, and had our half siblings, 20 female, 17 male, 16 male, and 11 male. Now, here's the dilemma. My half sister, who we will call JoJo, 20 female, is getting married to Rit, 22 male, in July. My mom and grandma asked that I make them a wedding cake, which I would have happily agreed to if I was invited to the wedding. The thing is, they wanted me to make a cake fit for 200 people, get a hotel near them. They hate that I am not a Christian, so they think I'll bring evil into their house, work for 3 days, and get a flight there and back. I'd have to pay for all of it. They think it'd be a nice gift to my sister. I just laughed and sent them my price sheet. They flipped out. I was bombarded with texts from them about how selfish I am, how I am truly vile, how I am toxic for expecting my family to pay for my cake when they could just go to Walmart to get one. JoJo even messaged me on Discord a week after I had sent the price sheet and asked why I would charge her when I made my best friend a free wedding cake. I simply told her to F off, as not only was I invited to her wedding, but I was the maid of honor. And in a way, it was a returning the favor for being a genuinely good friend and helping me out when I was going through a lot. Jay and his wife had said I'm not wrong for it, and they'd do the same thing, and my boyfriend is on my side. However, a few people in my life are saying I should have just said a simple no instead of sending the sheet, and that my response to my sister was harsh. So I need an outside perspective. Hopefully other bakers on here too. Am I the asshole?
No,
Hmm.
not the asshole. This is your profession. They are not your friends.
I mean, I don't really think you're the asshole. I'm just wondering if there is a potential disconnect between what the family expected make a cake for the wedding
Mm-hmm.
meant versus what she interpreted it as. Like,
Uh-huh.
I think as a professional baker who makes wedding cakes for a living,
Mm-hmm.
you have one expectation of what a bride wants.
Right.
Big, the tier, the 200 person cake that's like frilly and fancy, and there's a lot that goes into that. And it's expensive on its own. Then there's the flight out, then there's the hotel room, and all the work that goes into that. That's a lot. That's a lot.
Yeah.
Versus what maybe they thought, considering they're like, we could just go to Walmart and get one.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
Walmart does have lovely wedding cakes.
well, I mean, is it like you just wanted a sheet cake and like a plaster falsie? Because they do that. Like, that's a
Yeah.
thing. That's actually some of the wedding advice of how to make your wedding cost less is
Mm-hmm.
get a fake cake. You can rent one. They're way cheaper than getting the big to do is this is a professionally made edible cake and then
Right.
bake a giant sheet cake and serve it. Your guests will not care.
Right.
Like you've been to a wedding, there is a cake, there's a little mini cake that you cut that they put on top of the plaster thing or the fake whatever, it looks real but isn't. And then everyone gets a piece of sheet cake, and it's most people don't care.
Right.
That would probably be a lesser ask, and maybe something that she does not need to quite do as much as.
Right.
But still, it's an ask.
Right.
I just wonder where it is in terms of what they thought they were asking versus what she thought they were asking for.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, I would think that, like, all animosities aside, if you're a professional baker and you are making cakes professionally for weddings and your sister is getting married,
Mm-hmm.
you might have a bigger dream
Mm-hmm.
than maybe what she's decided she wants. So you were prepping the dream that you would envision for your sister, which is a compliment.
Mm-hmm. Right.
And not the, like, just make a sheet cake and bring a falsie.
Right.
Like, that's a smaller ask, that's not as insane. Do I think it's unreasonable, however, to send someone a price sheet and go, this is what my services cost?
Mm-hmm.
Like, this is how much this is what you're asking is. Like, you may not, like, this is not a $13, $25, $100 run to Walmart
Right.
that I do. Because I think sometimes family does not always understand, especially when you have families that have issues and may not, necessarily engage enough to know better
Right.
what someone does,
Right.
that they may unintentionally, even, what, like, intent is kind of a point in this, but even unintentionally, if they do not understand what you do and what that's worth. Yeah, I know. Brenda's like, Joe, you poor sweet summer child. I'm just saying there's a little wiggle room here for this is not quite as offensive. It's offensive. Don't get me wrong. It's offensive. But not as.
Yeah.
Like, I would think if you're pricing out your wedding, you already know what this should all cost.
Right.
And so it shouldn't be a surprise. And maybe you think to yourself, all right, invite the heathen who makes the cakes and tell her that's what she can get you for a wedding gift. You know, and then be willing to compromise a little bit because we're not able to afford this.
All right.
Like,
See the question I posed to you.
okay. Oh, so if your sister showed up and demanded you to build her a site for her business, including a store and a logo, versus your cousin asking you to fix her son's computer. I would have problems with it being demanded.
Mm-hmm.
I would definitely send a price list. And I would probably very quickly point out that, like, no, these are
All right.
people.
New poll is up. New poll is up.
Okay. All right.
All right. So new poll is up for that. Per Brenda's request. But this is the equate going on here that the family's defending over. Well, you made one for your best friend.
My best friend's in my life.
Yes.
Like, you're not.
Yep.
My best friend also invited me to the wedding.
Uh-huh.
Best friend made me maid of honor.
Mm-hmm.
Versus you can't even let me sleep in your house.
Right.
So this isn't just come at, like, just get your sister a wedding cake for her wedding as a gift.
Mm-hmm.
It's show up for a wedding you're not invited to and get your own hotel room because you can't stay here. Again, I think the layering, that's where I'm saying some of the layering that's going on is where I think the bigger problems coming in. Like, it's what's creating the immediate, like, no.
Yep.
Like, you don't ask you, and that's where I'm getting to, or was getting at, is like, I think there's a lot of non-consideration for like how much you just asked for. Like, not only do you not understand how much the cake is going to cost,
Right.
or what all goes into that, you also aren't considering the travel and the accommodations.
Right.
And like, none of it, like, you have zero idea how much this costs versus maybe what they were thinking without taking in some of the other considerations like travel and accommodation. And we're expecting some, like, and again, there's an insult there. There's an insult. It sucks to be neglected and to have people in your life that do not care what you actually do for a living, but then demand your services. Like, there's an insult there. I don't need you to understand all the ins and outs. I just need you to have a base appreciation for, like, this costs money.
Yeah.
Like, this pays a car payment. This pays a mortgage. This pays rent. This pays medical insurance. Like, how many of these do you think I do?
Right.
You know what I mean? Like where are you at in your belief that the thing I do is so undervalued, and how many do you think I have to do
Right.
to pay my car payment?
Right.
And then you're going to ask me to take multiple days off of work, travel, arrange accommodations, and do this for you.
For free.
Yeah. Like, so, like, do I not pay my rent this month?
Yeah.
Because you've clearly lowballed my services. So how many do you think I needed to do?
Right.
That I'm not going to be able to do while doing this for you?
No. And, I've dealt with this. Granted, I'm not a baker, but I've dealt with this. Oh, you're not working. You don't work.
Oh, but I am. Oh, but I am. Yeah. There's a lot of that. And it can be common amongst families.
No. Or, I've got to go to my real job.
Yeah.
Excuse me? And I've heard this come out of psychics' mouth. I have to go to my real job. No, your real job is your company.
Well, and I think sometimes you also have to appreciate that when someone says a real job, they're also talking about the fact that they are still connected to the belief that work should be a punishing, horrible thing. Right. And so the idea that they're doing something they enjoy and getting paid for it, they can't equate to being a job.
Right.
Because they're not suffering.
Right.
And that's probably a bigger indictment of employment than it is of their very real job that they have, that they can't equate to that.
Right.
And for some of us, it's because we've watched parents, grandparents, and siblings and friends, and even ourselves slog our way into a 9-to-5, Monday through Friday, and hate every moment of it.
Yes.
And that's what work means.
Right. So anyhow, my viewpoint is, no, family's an asshole.
Yeah. I'll go with not the asshole. Not the asshole.
Oh. Okay. All right.
Or family is the asshole, whichever way you want to go.
Right.
However we said it. All right. So moving on to queer polyam advice. How do I set these boundaries in a polyamorous relationship, and is it fair or reasonable to do so? For context, I've never been in a polyamorous relationship, and I'm not currently ready for another relationship or to jump into polyamory. While I've never been in one due to being perfectly content in and mostly finding myself in monogamous relationships, I've been interested in polyamory, and being single again, have started doing research on the topic. That being said, I've seen some people talk about their polyamory in a way where they have a main partner they are serious about, and other partners that almost feel like they rank lower on a hierarchy of some sort. If they or the main partner wants to call the polyamory off and end things with all other partners, it seems they can do so at any time. While I respect those boundaries in others' relationships, I feel like I have conflicting boundaries I'd want to set. While I am fine with my partner asking me not to see additional partners at times, I don't think it would be fair to other potential partners or myself to have a main partner who can end my other relationships or to ask a main partner to end theirs. If I'm getting into a relationship with someone, I feel as if there is a genuine connection between us, and it would be unfair, in my opinion, to prioritize one partner and cancel my other relationships on demand. And I think the same would be unfair to ask of them. That being said, is there a certain term for these feelings or boundaries, or a good way to establish that up front? Should I just explain everything I've said here while discussing my boundaries if I start talking to someone about the possibility of a polyamorous relationship? Additionally, am I asking for too much in the first place by wanting that? I feel like there are so many episodes we could just run right here where I explain this. But take it away.
One, that is not an ethical idea. What I mean by that is this is called hierarchy polyamory. It's not often done, like it's not in vogue right now, to put it bluntly. And that's called veto power. And I personally won't date anyone with veto power that's veto powered.
I mean, that's some parts of it. But yeah, what you're talking about wanting is non-hierarchical polyamory,
Right.
which is a generally preferable form of polyamory, mostly for the exact reasons you lay out.
Right.
Hierarchical polyamory has a lot of problems, and
Right.
it can be a breeding ground for a lot of hurt and despair.
Right.
We typically call it polyamory at gunpoint.
Right.
Typically, people get walked into it at gunpoint, and they get forced out of it at gunpoint.
Right.
Metaphorically speaking.
Right.
It's not their decision. It's being held accountable to an agreement that they made
Right.
with one partner, without any consideration whatsoever for any other human being on the planet, but
Mm-hmm.
right. Including themselves. It's just all about the partner. Um, this is the problem. This is why there has been a lot of writing on the subject. Most of it in its aftermath has pretty much proved the point that this is not a good idea. More Than Two is one book that is very heavily set on hierarchical polyamory.
Mm-hmm.
And its fallout is basically this.
Right.
It's unethical. It does not.
Right.
So pick up a copy of The Ethical Slut. Embrace your open polyness.
Right.
And make sure to just start from the beginning by saying, I am not hierarchical. I will not be in a hierarchical polyamorous relationship. That is the
Right.
boundary I set for myself. If you want that, find someone else because I will.
Right. All right. So there was this. The reason I chose this one was there was a short warning list, and I wanted to get your opinions on this.
Okay.
A short list of warning signs to watch for. Okay.
Newly open relationships. They probably haven't done the work to disentangle themselves. The term primary. This is the main partner you talk about. Calling you a third. Unicorn hunting. Run. Any time where the person who's not involved with you makes decisions about your relationship with your mutual partner. That includes rules about where you can go, what you can do, what kind of sex you're allowed to have, and not talking about responsibilities.
Just arbitrary rules.
Yeah.
Yeah. Any time where the mutual partner puts the blame for something on the other partner.
Mm-hmm. I mean, not that there aren't situations that can occur where legitimately blame is attributable.
Right.
But if you're getting blamed for stuff that it's like, how do I control that?
Yeah.
How do I control someone else is spending, more money on me than you, or prioritizes dates with me, but not you?
Yeah.
Like, how do I over here control what's occurring with the two of you? And therein lies the problem of hierarchical polyamory. Hierarchical polyamory says you can do that from the other side if you're the primary, main, etc. partner.
Right.
But then runs away from it and just places blame for causing a problem in the primary relationship if that's what happens. Or if that's what they feel happens.
Right.
Or if that's what they think might happen.
Right.
Or if they just get scared because it's the middle of the night and they saw a shadow in their closet.
Right.
Like, that's the whim you're at with hierarchical polyamory.
Right.
It's like it's like having this awkward relationship where effectively you're in a hostage negotiation with a scared child.
Right.
And I mean that almost sincerely, at least in terms of emotional maturity. There's a list there.
All
Of reasonable expectations for other human beings. It's very childish.
Mm-hmm.
That like, I know this doesn't work. If this is your definition of polyamory, you need to look up the word.
Right.
Because hierarchical ain't it.
Right. And see, what do you think of that short list?
I think it's a good short list. Like, I do. I think these are warnings. Right. Like, those are definite warning signs. I think it's basically the blueprint for people that end up looking for someone. Mm-hmm. Like when you're specifically seeing couples,
right,
that are looking for a third.
Mm-hmm.
Or you are single poly looking at any relationship, and someone is already attached, and you start seeing that list of things going on. Oh, they're new to polyamory, just recently opened their relationship. This is my primary partner. Not to be confused with nesting partner. That's a totally different subject. That is not a sign of hierarchical polyamory on its own.
No.
It can be, but there's it's in that, like, all squares are rectangles, but not all rectangles are squares.
Right.
Like, it's the, it's on the wrong side of that to consider it a warning flag. Though be
Right.
careful, it can be part of the thing. Being called a third,
Mm-hmm.
no, no, no. You are not a third party to their relationship.
Right.
Because that's usually where that comes up, and that's usually how you feel. If
Right.
you feel like a third wheel, if you feel less than, if they are talking about you as the other, you are.
Right.
That's they're doing hierarchical polyamory, whether they call it that or not.
Right.
And then yeah, if you don't have any equity,
Mm-hmm.
which is really what anytime where the person who's not involved with you makes decisions about your relationship with your mutual partner. If you don't have equity,
Right.
like literally or metaphorically, if you don't have a seat at the table,
Right.
that's hierarchical polyamory.
Right. Now, the one that gets me, and there's an inside joke with the three of us. So we need to tell the viewers about the inside joke because it's now become a thing.
Okay.
Technically, the invisible was a partner of mine before you were.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. But we call him the unicorn.
That's a different joke.
I know, but I'm quite sure people are going, oh, he's. No.
No, like if anyone got that from the conversations, I apologize. That's not what that's about. Those are very different things. That is like Invisible has a hatred for a love hate. We like torturing him with unicorn themed things because the reaction to it is priceless.
Yes.
And it is cheap and easy to do. So we like unicorn, like there's so much unicorn stuff we have bought.
Headphones, unicorn. Um,
Unicorn lip balms, unicorn baseball cap, unicorn headphones. I'm sure a unicorn horn. This is where that started. That was
yes.
after its own odd weekend.
Well, let's start back with the unicorn horn because that's where it really started at. Okay, we go to an event, and at this time, whenever I would go out of town, I would pick him up something unusual, interesting, whatever. And at this time, he was playing some video game where you got to create riding things. I don't know what they're called by choice, but they're like he's had a Pegasus, he's had a Tiger. I'll get yelled at for later, not knowing what it's called. Mount. Let's just call it a mount.
Yeah, it was a bunch of different mounts in this game that you could get. I think you bought some, you found some, you could
Right.
level up some. Anyway,
Right.
it was a whole thing. And then we went to this event.
And Brenda, I'll
And
get your comment later.
Yeah, heaven help me. I'm oblivious.
Yeah.
Like you basically have to sexually assault me for me to understand that you're hitting on me.
Right.
Like I just want to make that clear. I don't assume people are flirting with me. I flirt all the time and don't mean to. I just enjoy flirting.
Right.
Sometimes I actually manage to do it in a way that's not creepy.
Right.
But anyway, so we're at this event, and I'm oblivious to this couple who I'm pretty sure were hierarchical.
Yeah.
And were flirting with me all day long.
Yes. Like, honey, how you did not see that, I have no clue. Like, that's when I made your optometrist appointment.
I did see it.
After the fact.
Yes, I did. We left we literally ended the event, packed everything up into the car, pulled out. Before we got on the interstate, we stopped at a Starbucks, I believe it was.
Yes.
And we were ordering coffee, and it hit me like a bolt of lightning. I think they might have flirted with me. And you're like, no! He was horrified. Like,
Right.
now?
Anyway, I had picked up a unicorn horn because he, during the event, had sent me his new mount in picture. And all I could tell was it was a unicorn. And it had really great hit points. And, I know enough about his games to be able to have a conversation with him about them. So we come home, and I give him his tokens that I had picked up for him.
Including the unicorn.
The boy had it. Like, he lost his mind about the unicorn horn. To the point that he had picked up, then we tell him the situation, and he goes, "What? Did they think I was your unicorn at home cleaning the house?"
And so the torture began.
Well, and so the theme began.
Yeah, the theme began.
Yes. And no need to send angry messages to Joe. He's enamored with the animal crackers. We've had multiple conversations about how good they are, how funny they are. He's even found a few that he prefers because apparently they're different shapes, Brenda. Yes, we've had conversations. He very much enjoys them. And it's not that it's a love-hate relationship. It is they make that. And furthermore, you found that.
Yes.
Yes.
Well, because it's one of those things, you start looking for it and you find it everywhere. It's one of those things. So what Brenda said was, and I sent him unicorn memes because someone, Joe, made a comment about him liking unicorns. Joe expecting messages. At this point, he does. I think he's always liked unicorns. It's just at this point, it's like somewhere we broke him. Okay, is what we're saying. Is this went from, oh cool, more unicorn stuff, to, oh sweet Mary Mother of God, what did you find with a unicorn on it, in it, around it, through it?
Right.
This time.
Right. No, and he got me yelled at and actually talked down to it. So we found him a hat that says, "I'm a unicorn." So me and Joe and the Invisible take off and go do a poly event. Well, it was an LGBT event, but it was leading towards poly. And this lovely, sweet child
who was not cool with irony.
That was not cool with irony. That did not know us. Came up and started sermoning me on the ethics of polyamory and why unicorn hunting is wrong. And
it's like, no. Meanwhile, before you get too far down poor invisible was eating it up the whole time. Like, yeah, oh my God.
Yeah.
Letting him get lambasted, no defense, none. Just let it happen.
Yeah.
Like, this is your comeuppance.
Yeah. Yeah. I'll play the poor innocent Cinderella. And it's like, bullshit. Bullshit, bitch.
There are no victims here.
Yeah.
There are no innocents.
Right.
No
Like,
innocence whatsoever.
right. But no, all three of us have things. Like you have T-Rex stuff.
Yes.
Yes. Because he has
I
short
have
arms.
short little arms, and they usually form T-Rex position. If you haven't noticed,
Yeah.
like,
Yeah. Invisible has unicorn stuff. He's getting really close. If they keep loading it up and he keeps showing me cat stuff, he's going to start getting Hello Kitty stuff too. Just a word of warning. And I'm Batman.
mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And vampire stuff.
Again, going
It's
along with
not
Batman.
like we do get like Invisible gets a lot of unicorn themed stuff. There's also a bunch of stuff he gets that he actually is interested in. Let's
Well,
like
it doesn't look like
not
he's interested in
totally.
the freaking unicorn stuff, okay? Because I'm sorry, the one time he even came on air, one, he wore his unicorn hat. He had on his unicorn light ring that kept changing colors.
Oh yeah, the unicorn light ring. Forgot about it.
Yeah.
So much you just don't understand. The list is long.
Yes.
I think we've gotten him like a unicorn Pez dispenser. Like it just goes on.
Notepad because he keeps forgetting shit.
Mm-hmm.
But
Other
no,
people, like Brenda's not alone. Other people have joined this. Um,
Lady Gwendolyn.
the Shut the Fuck Up Cakes
Yes.
T-shirt. Someone else got him that one. It's adorable.
Yes. It, however, became part mine because it fit me.
Yeah, because the sizing was, I think it was women's size, like 2X,
Yeah. Yeah.
not men's 2X or unisex 2X,
Right.
because it was kind of shorty and much more slender.
Yeah. It was a tube top for him, and Invisible is not a tube top boy. Very much upset with tube tops. But anyhow, like there's just different things, and they've come out of jokes. So, if you get Invisible, unicorn stuff, he loves it.
Yes.
Point blank, he loves it. He's one of those, he will complain until he doesn't complain no more.
Yeah, when he stops complaining about it is when he's done.
Yeah, it's when he's
Like
done.
he has a simple exit strategy. Just don't complain about it. Just be like, thanks. And
Yeah.
we will stop.
And then I will know he is done with the game,
Mhm.
and we will go search other things. Yeah. But no, like he was pissed. I'd gotten him a pure freaking joke. I'd gotten him a light up unicorn headset.
Yes. Because we were at Five Below and they were like, I think $7 or something. Because he kept complaining he needed a new headset.
Right.
And we're sitting there going,
Okay. So I'm in here working. He's in a Twitch streaming with somebody. And I get up and I do my house round, which, during the night, I'll walk through the house, check on everything, see who's asleep, who's awake, who's, making sure everything's good. He's wearing the unicorn headset, lights turned on so that they flash around his head in a live Twitch stream, playing games.
Loving every minute.
Loving every minute of it.
He was actually, he was upset when they broke.
Yes.
Because we couldn't find another pair that lit up.
Right.
And that was the problem.
Yeah.
And it was like, wait, I thought you hated those. And he's like, no, they're actually a really good headset. And I really like that they light up. They're funny.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we searched. We could not find another pair. I think we finally saw some recently. But
we did, but they didn't light up.
Yeah. Oh, still with the don't light up.
Still with the don't like it. It's like when he goes out, he wears a baseball cap. If he's not wearing his work cap, he wears his unicorn cap. Like that's his cap. He has
I
others.
think he's
He has bear cap. He has cab cap. He has a cap that says "See my papa." No, he wears the unicorn cap. So it's a thing. So
and
cookies
all of
were
it goes lovely with his mystical tie-dye hoodie
yes.
that you cannot pry him out.
No.
Like it barely gets put on a hook
Mm-hmm.
for the summer.
Yes. And that's debatable. And that's about debates. The debate is really if I've hidden it.
Basically.
Yeah.
So Brenda says, so you now need light up Hello Kitty ones?
We will see. It depends on see where we're at with this.
Like we've discussed changing it up. We haven't decided.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like we're in discussion.
We're in discussions. He's also a Naruto fan, so if light up Naruto noodle headset would probably stoke the hell out of him.
Oh yeah, that would be awesome.
Yeah. Like so. Yeah, I wanted to clear that up and then comment, Brenda, I need you to IM me where you got those at. Because they're gone.
Yes. Yes. He needs more.
Yes.
So.
All right. So with that, guys, we hope you've enjoyed the show. We will be back at 5 o'clock. What? Oh, poll.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a cliffhanger we can't leave anyone on.
Oh, poll results are in.
Survey
Damn.
says.
I done really good in choosing this one. It's not just it's not that you're the asshole. It's that the whole family is an asshole, not you.
Ah, there we go. There we go. All right. So not just not the asshole, every other family member is the asshole. It is the shitty family.
Yep. All right. So anyhow, we will be back at 5 o'clock on Sunday with Psychic the Plans. And we will be diving into Aeson's custom planner. We've decided we are staying custom. And we will discuss more about that and also the project I took on this week. You'll be seeing what I've done with that. So that will be fun. And with that, we want to thank the people that make this possible.
All right. Of course, we want to thank Beverly Walker, Mika G, Kathy, Mary Winfield, Brenda, Joan Owens, Shannon C, Shannon D, Lady Gwendolyn, Charles Shaw, Tracy Van, Caitlin Bell, and Devin. If you'd like to learn more about us, the show, or how you too can become a Patreon sponsor and receive all the wonderful benefits our baristas receive, please visit us at pcspnetwork.com.
Yes. And until then, guys, good night.
Good night.